I am the Namer, guardian of the names of power. Before your world even existed, my people were an ancient race. Now they are gone, and only I remain, keeper of my people's history. Across the endless tracts of space have I traveled, to return to the planet of my birth, Zoidstar. Though my people perished long ago, and their cities were buried by the shifting sands, the machines remain. It is these that have brought me here to perform the last act of the Zoidarian race, the giving of the names of power. When my race was young and had an interest in the affairs of the galaxy, they built the machines, mighty engines of destruction which gave the power of life and death over the other creatures in the galaxy. The Zoidarians turned their gaze outward and laid waste to 1,000 star systems with their machines, their Zoids. But ruling a galaxy was not enough for the Zoidarians. It was not the conquests, but the battles they enjoyed. And though all intelligent life trembled in the shadow of the Zoids, my people battled on, machine against machine, Zoidarian against Zoidarian, in the further pursuit of glory. Zoidarian lives were needlessly sacrificed to the god of battle, and the race dwindled in numbers until the elders outlawed the Zoid duels. But they couldn't outlaw the Zoidarian love of combat. The Zoidarian pilots of the giant war machines were replaced by androids, and thus the heroic combat could continue without threat to Zoidarian life. Too late came the order. Too late to save a once mighty race from extinction, and now only I remain. Only I and the Zoids. And though my people created the Zoids, I have no power to control them. For the war machines have become the living embodiment of the Zoidarian thirst for combat, with lives and wills of their own. They exist only to fight, to ensure that their heroic combat lasts for all eternity. Now I stand on the sand-blasted surface of a world I used to call home, high on a rock, scanning the horizon for some sign of movement, knowing that out there, behind the sand clouds, lurk the deadliest war machines in the universe. It begins!
The black metal dragon soars overhead. Steel wings block the sun to bring shadow dread. Searing red techno eyes and jaws of chrome. Gilvader of the Gylos Empire bombs our home. The black metal dragon soars overhead. Steel wings block the sun to bring shadow dread. Searing red techno eyes and jaws of chrome. Gilvader of the Gylos Empire bombs our home. Ultimate Gylos Zoid 40 meters long. Gilvader's rampage brings the doom war song. Steel black armor and silver claws to rend the kill. Vader might bring a helican end. Gilvader, the ultimate dragon droid. Gilvader leaves Helic cities destroyed. Gilvader on the steel wing, now a doom descends. Gilvader and so the Republicans. With screeching red hussars he slices clean. Gilvader is shielded from our radar screen. Mach 4 speed means no sky sword can catch him. of destruction swoops on a whim. Gilvader, the ultimate Dragon Zoid. Gilvader leaves Hellic cities destroyed. Gilvader, on the steel wing our doom descends. Gilvader, and so the Republic ends. Let loose the Arudios to the sky. Alicorn Zoid with white armor soar high. Clash with Gilvader over planet Z. Alicorn Ferris Dragon make us free. Gilvader, the ultimate Dragon Zoid. Gilvader leaves Hellic cities destroyed. Gilvader, on the steel wing our doom descends. Gilvader, and so the Republic ends. The ultimate Dragon Zoid. Gilvader leaves Hellic cities destroyed. Gilvader, on the steel wing our doom descends. Gilvader. 1,000 gears were. From below they emerged to a Zoidstar mod. Their monster machine rage now supercharged. Zill, Zader, the ancient monster machine. Zill, Zader, Shepherd, Dragon, Zoid and mean. Zill, Zader, flashing red eyes and wings spread wide. Zill, Zader, his monstrous might turns the tide. The Zoidstar destroys, the ancients turn loose. But with techno rage there will be no truce. Seething with hatred they seek justice now. No peace or mercy will be had, this they vow. Zill, Zader darkens the skies with his wings. Colossal black dragon Zoid, death he brings. With powerful weapons of old and great, vengeance will be his as Zoids meet their fate. Zill, Zader, the ancient monster machine. Zill, Zader, Gilvader, dragon, Zoid and mean. Zill, Zader, flashing red eyes and wings spread wide. Zill, Zader, his monstrous might turns the tide. Wherever he goes, Zill, Zader sows death. Red and blue Zoids are melted by his breath. Renegade Zoids fall to his ancient wrath. Zill, Zader, code Zoidstar, and Zoid bloodbath. Zill, Zader, the ancient monster machine. Zill, Zader, Shepherd, Dragon, Zoid and mean. Zill, Zader, flashing red eyes and wings spread wide. Zill, Zader, his monstrous might turns the tide. Zill, Zader, the ancient monster machine. Zill, Zader, Shepherd, Dragon, Zoid and mean. Zill, Zader, flashing red eyes and wings spread wide. Zill, Zader, his monstrous might turns the tide. When Zoidstar destroys, the ancients turn loose. Filled with techno rage, there will be no truce. Seething with hatred, they seek justice now. No peace or mercy will be had, this they vow. This they vow. So's death, wrath, and blue Zoids are melted by his breath. Decayed Zoids fall to his ancient wrath. Zill, Zader, code Zoidstar, and Zoid bloodbath. Zill, Zader, the ancient monster machine. Zill, Zader, Shepherd, Dragon.
It is the never-ending battle between red and blue Zoids. It has been waged for centuries. It rages still, with no end in sight.
I, the Namer, last of the Zoidarians, guardian of the names of power, keeper of the legend of heroic combat, have spoken.